I want to welcome everyone back to another episode of Soul Impact, How Music Saved Us. Today we have with us Charlotte Rupp. Charlotte, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of what you got going on?
Thank you for having me on today. That's awesome that you're doing this. My name is Charlotte Rupp. I am Mrs. South Dakota 2025 or International. And I am also the founder of Operation Combating Veteran Suicide. So this for you and I just fit really well into each other with the music of how important it is at every level of whether it's a veteran, myself as a pageant queen, myself as a mom, wife, whatever. It is just, it's huge to everybody. Music is huge.
Oh, absolutely. See, and we have talked a little bit, but reason why I found music is I was abused pretty bad as a child. So that was my saving grace. And and I say that on every episode because it's true. Um, no matter what song's playing, you're gonna have something in that song that's gonna make you feel a certain way. So, what effect has music had on you personally?
So music has been huge for me my entire life. I've either played an instrument, sang, whatever, but also just listening to music is so comforting to me. I feel like you can always find a song that will make you feel better, or just help you calm down and just relax. And I use music a lot for that, of just quieting my soul, because I'm a very busy person with a nonprofit. I also work a full-time job. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I'm also a pageant queen. My life doesn't stop.
Do
So
you sleep? Do you sleep?
not often, not often. It's a pretty minimal thing for me, but music is something that brings me back and kind of grounds me, just can let me have that just breathable moment to relax.
So, what's something that music has literally kind of brought you out of that could have been a whole lot worse? Like for me, I mentioned it was my child abuse that it brought me out of that, kept me from being depressed all the time.
Absolutely. And I am so sorry that you went through that. It's horrifying. For me, it's been my depression. I do suffer from depression pretty heavily. And for me, it's just being able to reground. Usually my depression peaks when I am overstimulated, super busy. The world feels like it's just crashing down because I'm so busy all the time that I have to take that time to myself to, refocus. Otherwise, it just spirals with the depression, and it doesn't feel good. Nobody wants to be in that point of hurt, of stress and depressed. It's miserable.
And I also deal with that myself. I also am a very busy person. I have my podcast, my business, a single parent, remodeling a house, and I run a DJ karaoke / sound company. So I also don't get much sleep.
Right.
But to me, and I mean, and that's why I wanted to get you on the show so bad. It's because like I've talked to Bubba about you a lot, and the way he talked about what you're doing for the veterans, and I cannot express. I was not in the military. I did try, but I couldn't. But I have family that's been in the military for as long as I can remember. So from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you for what you are doing for the veterans, because it is really sad. They go over there and they put their life on the line, and then they come back here at the end of the day and they get nothing.
Right.
I mean, and it's sad.
And it's there for them. There's so many places that can help and do help, and but they don't have the knowledge of where it is. But the things like what we're doing is completely different than most. Is we are doing and working towards right now fundraising for building our first building for the veterans, which will be exactly their own complex, so that it's just going to be all veterans there. We're going to have a community center for them. It'll be apartments. We're going to help with the costs for them to live there. And that's the big part. Along with, we do the employment side, we can help write resumes. We work with many companies that they will just call me and be like, hey, we have a job opening for this position. What veterans do you have that we can help? And these are just, you know, things I've built up now over time in doing this, of seeing what the veterans need. You know, and then of course, mental health resources, of always having those out there for them. But we have to give them all the pieces that they need to go um, and flourish when they come out into the world after being in the military or having a moment where they can't um, do what they need to for themselves anymore. So, you know, I think it's so important that we just piece by piece for our veterans and make sure they're getting what they need.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, veterans, and I have family that they have come back, and unfortunately, they have been one of them 22 a day. I mean, it's a tough topic to talk about, and this one is near and dear to my heart. And you know, a lot of times they have that I'm okay on the outside because for one, they're a soldier. No matter what branch they are, they're a soldier, and they don't have that outlet, not outlet. Um, and to see someone like you come along and just naturally, you know, not just say hold their hand, but initially that's what it is. And I'm not saying that to sound bad, but you're that, and this is how I see it as an outsider, because I got you on Facebook, and I watch what you're doing. I do. That sounded like a little creepy. I promise, not in a creepy way, but
Perfect.
um, to see how you were doing, and you build them up, and you're kind of that whisper in their ear, like, you know what, you got this. So on that side, what have you seen music do for them?
You know, I think it's very similar to what it's done for me. Is it just, you know, giving them an outlet, whether they want to make music, whether they want to, you know, just sit and play it, if they want to go to a concert, you know, they're all very involved. I don't know any of my veterans that don't have a love for music at some level, because it is what they've had, you know, when they've been overseas, when they've been in the barracks, when they've been, you know, out to sea, whatever it is they've been doing, music's always around them. And whether it's music from a different country, you know, a lot of our veterans struggle with different kinds of music because of it just brings back memories, and we have to be respectful and mindful of that. Um, so I think that you really work, for me, it is teaching them so many aspects, but music is a great place to start with, just being able to calm the mind and body. Um, and focus on something. You know, a lot of them, their heads are very busy. And so it's very hard for them to just concentrate on anything. And so, you know, a lot of the times when I have veterans with me, or we're, you know, working on something, I'll just have quiet music in the background, and they are able to, you know, deal with just, there's something else giving them some noise to keep them calm and moving in the right direction. I know in our community center, music will be a huge part of it. You know, of having bands coming out, of having, you know, just time there for them to be part of a community, and that's going to be their community there.
Oh, absolutely. And I from what I see, they see that they're loved. I mean, because a lot of that, and I have some dear friends that they've come back, and they've been, their wife left them. They literally had no one.
Yeah.
So, what's been some obstacles that you've had to overcome, and probably the biggest impact you have seen?
So I think, you know, obstacles for me is when I decided to take this head on. Obviously, I took a name that is extremely strong, um, of the Operation Combating Veteran Suicide. I No more beating around the bush. We need to know what's out there. People need to know what's happening. Our veterans need it to know it's okay to talk about their feelings, and not like they're deep down. They don't have to do that, but let people know, and staying in front of them. So, with working with employment, housing, and the mental health resources, without that, that's where you see a lot of the suicide rates too. Is they're financially not doing okay. They're mentally just struggling, emotionally. Like you said, they come back and their wife's left or something major event has happened in their life and they don't even know how to reintegrate. I mean, if you think about the military, you go in at a young age normally between 18 and 21 and you're there for 4, 6, 20 years, whatever it is. But that whole time, everything's pretty much taken care of for you. You have housing, you have food, you have a place to sleep, you have, you're told when to be to work, you're told what days you have off. Yes, you can take leave and go home, but all those pieces are done. And then when they're leaving the military to head back into society of what we know, they don't know where to go get a job. All they had to do was fill out a paperwork, to get into the military, take their test, they got in. And then when they wanted to rank, they had to work through that process, which is a very military process, So all of those pieces, when you put them out, they don't have all the pieces they need. And so being able to support them, in those pieces completely is what they need.
So, how long have you been heading on this program?
So I have worked with veterans now for over 25 years. I have worked with them from the hospice side, helping get their benefits, helping suicide issues. The new building part of this has been started. Well, we started the nonprofit because Casey and I, my husband and I, have been the ones funding this up until December of last year when we decided, as I was running for the title of Mrs. International, that we wanted to get our nonprofit going. It was time. And so December is when the nonprofit started, but there's 25 years for me working with veterans at all different levels. My husband is a combat soldier um, out of the Army. So, my background is just extensive of veterans from working with them from very old to very young, just coming out.
So, have you had any success stories? Like, what's a success story that, and you ain't got to name names, I'm not asking for that, that just comes to mind that, you hear it and you think of it and it just can't help but put a smile on your face?
Right. One of the most recent ones was we had a gentleman that was needing a electrician's job, and they called, and him and I were talking, and he had a great resume, had the tools, just couldn't find a job. And then I said, give me a minute. I said, I know some electricians that I think are hiring. I said, let me call. We had him a job within 48 hours. We did help with his housing, for his deposit. Those are the successes right now. The biggest success to me, though, is when I hear the thank you. I get the hug that says, thanks for being here for me. I'm
Oh,
glad you answered the phone. I'm glad you could meet me for coffee. Those to me are just as big of successes as I got him a job, oh, good, we were able to put him in housing. It's to see them smile and know that it really did mean something to them.
oh yeah, and I can relate to that. Just like I personally don't head on anything for a veteran. I try. I back. I actually every November they do. I don't know if you heard of that Hero Marathon.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Over here we have it, and they run from Salem, Missouri to Rolla, Missouri, and every year since I've got my business, so I use my business to get back. Like I DJ that whole thing for them,
I love it.
and for me, like you said, I love music. I enjoy getting to do it. When I DJ, it's not a job; it's a hobby. It really is. But them smiles, and like I also do a toy drive over here every summer. I DJ a big toy drive, and I think people need to get back to that. Giving back to people. I mean, so much it's come down to people looking out for yourself. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with making sure you have what you need, but at some point it's okay to see someone struggling, whether it's a veteran, a homeless parent trying to get back on their feet, whatever the situation is. It's okay to extend an olive branch because you don't know where they come from to where they are now.
Right. And that's veteran. I mean, it's really simple. And even if the veteran steps back from that, my husband says it's always weird to me that people thank me for my service. It's what I was expected to do. And I said, but we have our freedoms, we have all those pieces. And he's really gotten a lot better at, when somebody's like, thank you for your service, he's like, thank you, I appreciate you doing that for me. So it's getting to that point where they can do that. And as for people just giving back in general, you're correct. No matter what it is, somebody always has it worse than you. And that's how I've always, even raising my children, no matter how bad you think you have it, it's worse somewhere else. I can assure you of it. And just giving a smile, say hello to somebody out on the street, all the way up to giving somebody a dinner. Those are huge things for people.
Absolutely. Now, I'll be honest. I have a hard time, if I see someone homeless, I have a hard time giving money. I will be completely honest.
Yep.
Because I was a truck driver at one point, and I have seen people panhandle at truck stops and then go up 2 exits and get in a brand new car.
Absolutely.
So I would rather go in and say, all right, you need money? You need food? I'll go buy you some food.
Yep.
And it's not that I don't want to help. It's just I'm not going to fuel an addiction. And I know that sounds horrible, but...
No, you and I are exactly on the same plate, on the same page with that.
On the same plate, huh?
Same page. Same page. Even for us with our veterans, we do not hand them money. So if they need a deposit for a place to rent or whatever, I do that direct. Same thing. We know there's addiction. There's things going on. We want to help them with what the means is that they need help with. If it's food, I'll go buy food. If you need clothes, let's go shopping. Those are the things we do. But very similar to that, because unfortunately I've seen exactly what you have with the homeless, that even our homeless veterans, some of them are using that for drugs, substances, or whatever. And we don't want to be part of that. But if you need a house, you need some food, you need whatever, we're going to help you get there so that you can do that.
And that is amazing. It really is. Because like you said, people are taken for granted. And, a lot of time people have the aspect, and I hate to say it, but society has put a spin on them so bad, especially if they're homeless. Well, what have they done to be homeless? It's not necessarily what they've done to be homeless. It's the fact they didn't know what to do. I mean, now I am saying that's not for all of them.
Right.
But a lot of times, and that's where, one of my biggest quotes that I love and it's dear to my heart is you win if you don't quit. And, it's not that they're quitting. They just don't know,
And some of them, and this is across the board because I've worked just straight homeless. Veterans have always been my life and love, but working with homeless in general, some of that's by choice. They want to be there. They don't want to change where they're at. And we have to remember that's okay too. If that is where they want to be, we just need to make sure they have what they need to be there.
Exactly.
And that is something, everybody's like, oh, well, we need to put them in a shelter. We need to do this. No, we don't. We need to meet them where they need to be met. And if that is on the street, then that's where we're going to meet them if that's what their choices are.
Exactly. And, you got to, and this word is misused a lot because people don't really know what it means. But you got to love them. Because too many times into society, I love you is used as a form of manipulation.
Correct.
So a lot of people, and I'm sure there's veterans, there are people that aren't veterans that don't know what it is. Because here it is, they go, they give it their all, and then they come back, and the person they thought that loved them, that would be by their side the whole time. And then to top it off, there's stuff they're seeing. Like, I know stories from where veterans had to do the unthinkable. So in your head, not only do you come back to not only in their head do you come back to an empty house, but they come back having to deal with the things they did or saw. So, and that's why, like I said, My brother's a veteran. Well, he's not really my brother, but I call him my brother. We've been friends forever.
Yep.
I actually bought my truck from him, and it has U.S. Army vet on it. I am not a vet, and I tell everybody that. But he got cancer stationed in Panama, so I keep it on there in remembrance of him. I mean, he's still with us, praise God, you know. But that is where we got to be. For one, it makes it hard because you do have them people out there that do the stolen value, and they're out there homeless wearing the jackets, and people reach out, you know, and you see it all the time. You really do. It's sad.
It is.
So when a veteran comes out and really needs to help, people are hesitant because, well, is he really a veteran? Are they really a veteran? Let me rephrase that because they ain't just men veterans. I don't. But are they really a veteran? How do I know? You know, that's like, even in my business, I am the only DJ in my area that gives a discount to veterans. For one, I would, and this is how I look at it. For one, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have the freedom. For two, even if you're a spouse, like I did a party a while back, her husband passed away, but he was a veteran. They were married for 40 years. She's like, I'm not a veteran. I said, no, but you're a spouse of a veteran. I'm, you know, because a lot of times people don't think of that either. Is that it's not just veterans that deal with garbage, you know. There's wives and children and aunts, uncles that or nieces and nephews that are missing that family member.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, for me, and like I said, I appreciate what you do so much. I mean, I talk about it. I share Bubba's stuff that has it in it. Then, of course, I'm on his network, so any video I do, it's ran on my video. The thing is, we've got to pull together.
Absolutely.
Not just as a state, not as an individual, as a country.
Right. Right. And absolutely take care of the veterans. And I think it's getting, you know, we're seeing good things happening. Some states are better than others. We're getting there. I think, you know, as we keep being forefront with everybody, we will, you know, keep making a little bit of noise about it. They're seeing more. We're seeing more for our vets, which is so important.
So, if someone wants to donate, where can they donate to?
I love it. So if they would like to donate, they can go to www.operationcombatingveteransuicide.com. And on there, it has our donation link that you can head right through. Or the shortened version of that web address is www.oc-vs.com.
I will make sure when I post this, I put that link in the description.
Love it. Thank you.
So if you will, forward that over to me at some point.
Yep.
So as someone that's seen the struggle and deal with depression yourself, what is an advice that you would give to someone that is not necessarily a veteran? Because like I said, we're hitting on two parts with this.
Absolutely.
What is that one advice that would you give that person that is at the end of their rope? Like they feel like today's the day I'm going to be a number, you know?
Statistic.
Yes, that's what I was trying to say. Thank you.
I'm the statistic. You know, first of all, I'm going to say reach out. Anybody can dial 988. I mean, that is, and they're a great resource. That is the suicide crisis line. It is a national thing. Absolutely can be done. I think too, as a person who struggles with it, talk to somebody. Everybody I feel like has a person, whether it's your spouse, a friend, a dog. I mean, I know that sounds weird, but talk to them, you know, let them know. But I mean, if you are struggling at that level of struggle, where you're really thinking you want to become that statistic, you need to dial 988. You'd either, or go right to the emergency room. They'll help you. It's, you know, it's a road and it's a struggle, but the biggest thing is not letting yourself get there. So meaning, if you're starting to feel that you're having issues, find something, music to calm you down, whatever your calm down is to just kind of refocus and step away. Um, but talk to somebody. You have to. You have to have somebody there for you that you can lean on. And I mean, a pastor, whatever it is, just reach out to somebody that you know is going to have your back and do the right thing for you.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So, what's a quote? Like, I'm big on quotes, and I like hearing people's different quote. What's one quote that comes to mind that has helped you deal with depression?
I don't know about depression, but for a quote that I use all the time, because whether it's for myself or my kids or, my vets or anybody, is love them where they are. And we need to remember to just love people where they're at. And if they're not where you think they need to be, remember they still need love. So let's just love them where they are. And remember, we don't know what everybody's going through. So even if they're not being the kindest, the nicest person, remember to love them where they are because you don't know what's behind them.
Absolutely. See, and I said mine earlier, but I'll say it again. Mine is you win if you don't quit. For one, I'm religious. Not everybody is, and I'm not knocking that. But for me, if I win, the devil. If I give up, the devil wins. I mean, and that's how I look at it. And then the other one I really like is it's about believing in yourself. Yeah, you may be at the end of your ropes, but you got to believe in yourself. And there's a quote, I don't remember who said it, so don't ask me, but it's one person with the belief is equal to a force of 99 with just an interest. So no matter what you do, whether it's heading on a foundation like Charlotte has, DJing, your day-to-day job, being a parent, whatever life throws at you, believe in yourself.
Absolutely.
And like I said, I want to thank you so much for what you do for the veterans, and that's why when I have talked to Bubba from day one of meeting Bubba, and he has told me about you, I was like, I want her on the show. I want that part of it, because I normally gear more towards artists and how they go their show, and sometimes it's okay to go a little off script when people needs to hear a message. And to me, 22 a day is unacceptable.
Well, and I appreciate you giving me the time to come on and talk to everybody because this is how we're going to get it out here, and this is how we're going to make things happen for our veterans that have served our country.
Oh, absolutely. And I will continue to share your stuff. Like I said, I watch your Facebook to see what's going on with your organization. Let me put for your nonprofit. I'll say it that way this time. The first time came a little stalkerish, but you've got, reach out if you need to get a hold of her. I have her directly on Facebook. I have her phone number. Not giving you her phone numbers behind her too. If you need help, if you're on the flip side of that, if you're a veteran and if you need help, even if you need someone to talk to and you're not in her state, you're not in my state, get some help. You are not alone. And a message to the veterans, I thank you for the ultimate sacrifice y'all did. You left home and you went and gave us the freedom we have today. So, but reach out. If you need help, find help. There's organizations, and I'm researching for Missouri. I mean, and I'm going to start promoting those as well because it's too sad. I mean, sometimes I ain't going to lie, it makes me cry because it's such a powerful, not so much a powerful, such a sad story. But is there any last minute thoughts that you want to talk about or hit on?
No, I just really appreciate you having me on because it is getting the word out there. It is helping the veterans. I am here if anybody wants to call. Numbers right behind me. You can also go to our website. There's a form on you can fill out. Even the veterans can if they're needing help that I can help work with them there. We are just here for the veterans. It doesn't just have to be in South Dakota. There's a lot of things we can do in other states too. So, reach out if it's something we can help with. And of course, the only way that we stay alive is by our donations. We are 100% volunteer based, so there's nobody taking a salary out of us or doing that. Matter of fact, I do work a full time job on top of this. So, um, to me, there's just that's how it has to be. Our money goes to our veterans, and that's just how it is.
Well, again, I thank you, and I want to thank you like I said this a bunch, and I'm going to continue to do it. I look forward to seeing what you're doing and seeing how it's going to blossom. And if there's anything I can do, whether it's putting you on a podcast, sharing that link to get you donations, I'm going to do whatever I can to help. And I truly do thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a voice.